Hi everyone, welcome to the Alertus webinar series. My name is Caroline Kilday, Direct Marketing Manager at Alertus Technologies. During today's presentation, John Dorney, Product Manager at Alertus Technologies, will offer best practices in implementing outdoor emergency notification systems. We're also joined by Ryan Oakley, our National Sales Director, who will be available to answer any Alertus-specific questions. Please hold your questions until the end of the webinar, but feel free to type your questions in the chat box during the presentation, and we will address them during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you following today's session. Please email marketing@alertus.com if you have any questions. Now, I'd like to turn it over to today's presenter, John Dorney.
Thank you, Caroline. Again, this is John Dorney. I'm the product manager at Alertus for the outdoor emergency communication systems. I'm responsible for basically all outdoor emergency communication, both high power, medium power, and low power. And the purpose of the presentation today is to give you a quick overview of Alertus and our solutions, and also give you 6 things to consider when you're designing your outdoor emergency communication system, and how do you even get started in that process, and the certain things you need to start researching and start thinking about. Quick background on Alertus. Alertus was founded in 2002 after a tornado went through the University of Maryland. And we started with our initial product, the Alert Beacon, and have since expanded on to well over a dozen different peripherals to alert. And again, the purpose of this presentation will be just the outdoor mass notification system. Alertus is based just outside Washington, D.C. However, we do have several distributors and integrators all over the world. And more likely than not, we do have someone in your area that we can help you both install and maintain your system. Now, before I go any further, I do want to just kind of quickly touch on the history of Sirens. I remember when I started in the industry about 10 years ago, I thought to myself, okay, well, what are Sirens? What do I think about when I hear the word Sirens? Well, I think basically about World War II, sirens over England, or what you see here is a very famous outdoor warning sirens. That's the Chrysler Victory siren. That's a 138 dB siren tone. You can hear it about 3 to 4 miles away. That can be used that was used mostly during the Cold War, but could also be used during, say, a tsunami or maybe a tornado warning. But one thing that you have in common with all these situations is it's really only one type of alert. Either it's going to be an air raid or not an air raid. Either it's a tsunami, it's not a tsunami. It's a tornado or it's not a tornado. But as I look through the list of attendees today, I see several different domain names. .edu. There's some .gov. There's a lot of .mil, and everybody has different threats. You have a multitude of threats facing your facility, your campus, and just setting off one siren tone, I don't think really does it. I think you're going to create a lot more confusion than you're going to help. So voice component is absolutely crucial to your outdoor system, and that's something we're going to hit on as one of the 6 components when you consider developing your system. Now, the purpose of this presentation isn't to completely go into the Alertus solution outdoor system, but I am going to just give you a high-level description of our system so you have some context. You know what we're talking about. And what you see there are different speaker configurations. On the bottom left is a 300-watt high-power speaker array. We'll call it an HPSA as well. You might hear me say HPSA, high-power speaker array. It'll go as high as 2,400 watts, right in the middle there. But that's going to be more of your industrial or your maybe even a city-wide emergency warning system. And that's all weather-tight aluminum speaker. It's very easy to install. If you looked at some other systems in the marketplace, I think you're going to realize how simple and how simple it is to install and easy to maintain. Now, again, some key points in the Alertus outdoor system. It's an all-aluminum system, up to 2,400 watts. The biggest points I really want to hit on are our text-to-speech capability, which I'll get into. Also, the constant system monitoring. So the system, if you have any issues with your system, whether it is an audio amplifier failure or a battery failure or a charger failure, something like that along those lines, you want to know before you use the system if it's not functional, so that you can go and quickly fix it before you need the system. And you simply don't have that in a lot of systems on the marketplace. Also, the battery backup is super important. If you lose power, you want to continue to have use of the system. So again, that was just a quick high-level overview of our system. We're gonna step into sort of the 6 things again that you want to consider when you're setting up your system. Now, quickly, this is our F configuration. So what we'll do is we'll do an acoustic analysis and we'll determine different types of configurations you'll need, and it'll give you sort of a teardrop acoustic coverage. This is called our O elliptical configuration, which will also give you, as it says, an elliptical coverage. But I think over the next week or 2 weeks, there's a little over 101 people who have signed up for this webinar. We can set up individual sort of dates over the next week or two. We can start digging more into these details of how our system actually works. But why don't I go ahead and really get into the meat of this presentation and the purpose of this presentation? As you know, what should we be considering when we're implementing an outdoor notification system? What are the different things that we want to start researching and learning about? And I think when I first entered this market, one of my biggest problems was there were just so many names. There's so many different names for outdoor emergency notification systems. You start Googling around, you start asking questions, you come upon all sorts of different nomenclature and different verbiage. And you might hear mass notification, wide area MNS, which is wide area mass notification, ECS, giant voice, big voice, siren system. There's just so many names. At the end of the day, to a certain extent, they all mean the same thing. I like to use the NFPA 72 guidelines. I think they did an excellent job from 2010 up until now, really breaking down each of the individual sections of emergency communication systems, which are distributed recipient, and several others indoor. And what we're really talking about here are the wide area MNS. So throughout the presentation and literature, and as you learn more, you're going to see these different names, but they're all synonymous. They all mean basically the same thing. I see a .mil, so you may have heard giant voice. It's very because the building code in the Department of Defense, they use giant voice. But again, we basically are talking about wide area MNS systems. So don't be thrown off or be discouraged as you learn more. It just, as the markets develop, people use different names, but they're all basically the same thing. Now, I come from sort of an older school of mass notification systems. When I first started out, we used sort of handheld microphones to give live public addresses. It was imperfect at the time, but it was the best technology that we had. So, you know, we kind of just used it because that's all we had 10 plus years ago. And I'll tell you, I was at Air Force Base 1 year, and there was an airman who was we were doing an exercise, and he held a microphone to his mouth, and he got nervous. He frankly forgot what he was supposed to say. He didn't have the microphone close enough to his mouth. His cadence was too fast. And also, we were in a command post, so he couldn't hear the speaker. So it's not. I think it's incredibly imperfect. I'm not a strong believer of using handheld microphones. Another thing, even if you're a professional speaker, you know, if you're, Casey Kasem or whoever, historically, it was someone who speaks well, you're going to have the phone ringing. You're going to have people coming in and out. In a real emergency situation, you're really going to need to initiate your emergency communication system and then move into that next step in your emergency plan. You don't want to sit there on a microphone flustered and having to continue to send out new message after new message. So how do we fix that? Well, at Alertus, we've solved that problem by using text-to-speech technology, which I'm going to get into towards the end of this presentation. But basically, the bottom line is you hit one button, and across your campus or your facility or military base, you're going to hear one message, both indoor and outdoor, and it's going to be the exact same message across all your devices. So although we do have the capability of doing live voice on the speaker as an option, it's something we discourage, and it's sort of a legacy interface that we're trying to get away from. Number three, quickly, do you have a unified message? Are the messages across all your devices the exact same? I know there's some systems out there that put pre-recorded messages inside the speaker arrays, and that's fine, but what if you have a different situation other than active shooter? Active shooter or a chemical release, you may have some instance that you never thought of. So simply just putting pre-recorded messages inside your speaker array, it doesn't really help you. I think you need to have the exact same message across all your peripherals, the computers, telephones, indoor PA, outdoor warning. So I would consider, as you design your system and as you learn more, to make sure that that message that's going across all your devices is unified. Make sure it's the exact same message, and also not similar messages, or if you're off by one word, it can mean something totally different. So I think that's an area where Alertus is powerful, and we're able to really tie all those different products together. Fourth, okay, so once we've specified the system and the different technology we want to use, what are the areas that we want to cover? In an ideal world, we have a infinite budget and we can cover everywhere, our entire facility, but you may want to start off just by covering the key areas, and then as budgets come along and improve, you can add speaker arrays and add other peripherals. So what are some of the areas that you really want to make sure that you hit? And these are the key areas that we want you to look at. Basically, the bottom line is, where are the people? Where are your students, your faculty, your guests? Where are the egress points, the exits and entries? Are there quads on your campus? Are there pathways between the buildings, outside dorm, parking lots, sports fields? These sorts of things, and really just try to, as a team or as your group develops your system, look at where are most of the people most of the time. And we know from our experience of designing these systems sort of the best places to cover, and we can help you with that. But again, this is just things you should start thinking about as you develop your outdoor emergency communication system. Fifth, one deliverable that we give our customers at no cost, we do this for everyone and at no obligation, is we will do an acoustical analysis of your facility and look at different things such as building heights and topography and vegetation. We'll tell you the optimal places that we feel that you should put speaker arrays so that you hear voice through most of your facility and your campus. But it's not perfect, because sometimes the place where I believe you should put a speaker array, maybe there's a historical building, or maybe the building that we want to go on to is being demoed. Or I recently just did a project where we were about to do it. Oh, well, there's another building going in right next to that building, and it's going to create an entire shadow zone. So we don't always, there's going to be a difference between where we want to put things optimally and then where we put things realistically. So what we do is we provide that acoustic design for you, and then what we do is we step through several iterations with you, different designs, 1, 2, 3. Usually it's 5 or 6 different iterations. It goes through your facilities, through administration, through your IT folks, and then we'll finalize sort of the best system that we can give you. And also, one thing you should consider is making sure that we avoid sinking poles in the ground and any major construction jobs. When we designed our system, we basically decided to make it as easy as possible to install. So we use building mounts for most of our installations, and that'll be part of the deliverable package that we give to you during the proposal phase. So again, there's going to be optimal acoustic location versus the realistic mounting options. And at the end of the day, the goal is to have clear voice and siren tones across your entire facility and campus to alert your guests, faculty, and students. Now, the last part in the 6th point, and I'm trying to go through this as quickly as possible because I know everyone, probably the lunch hour here. So, and the last part is, Okay, so we've gone through the process of designing our system. We worked with you. We've installed a new system. Then what? You know, day 2, day 3, day 500, day 1,000. How do we maintain the system and test the system, and how do we make sure that the system's fully operational? Well, one thing is the Alertus outdoor emergency communication system is constantly monitored. So if anything happens, you're going to get a fault. So what we suggest is really depending on the market, but usually quarterly or every semester, take a look through your logs and just you're going to see if there was a you're going to make sure you're going to see that the system is consistently passing. Another thing to do is to maybe once a year or twice a year go and measure the internal voltages and the battery voltages of your outdoor system. Again, if they were to fail, you would get a notice there. But it's good about once a year to perform a preventative maintenance inspection. I also recommend that you go up and you maybe open up one speaker and just take a look once a year and make sure everything is, give it a visual inspection, sort of kick the tires just like you would, you know, your vehicle. Um, and also, I would make sure that in their system that well, whatever venue you use, that there's some way of you getting that alert if there is a fault. But we have the option of redundant email addresses to set up in the Alertus system. See, what will happen is several people within your facility, within your school or your on your team will get emails if there is an issue with the system. Or if someone activates the system and uses the system. Also, lastly, the last point here is I suggest that you test the system. You can you can get the best technology in the world and really be you know get every bell and whistle, but at the end of the day, if you don't test it, you don't work with your team and make sure it's integrated with your emergency plans. Um, you know, it's going to be difficult. We actually have a full-time staff member who actually helps you with your integrating the system into your emergency plan and giving professional services. So that's something down the road. If you're interested, we can definitely talk about. Hopefully I got through those quickly enough for you. I do want to do a quick demo of the speaker array. I'm going to click on a link here, and what I'll do is I'll provide everybody a link so in your own time you can go to this YouTube page and listen to it. And we're going to see. I don't know how good this audio is going to be, so if it doesn't sound too great, again, I'm going to provide the link to everybody. But this was a recent test at a college.
This is a test of the emergency communication system. This is only a test.
And one thing, you know, one thing I used to think when I thought text-to-speech, I think was sort of Stephen Hawking's or sort of a computer voice. We're far ahead of that. We put a ton of R&D and time into developing our own TTS model. So what I'm going to do now is turn things over to Ryan, and Ryan's going to give you a demo of the Alertus software, and then we're going to take questions. Have a quick Q&A session. So Ryan, take it away.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and show my screen.
No action needed.
And what I'm going to do is go ahead and log into our user interface. It'll give you a very brief demo of activation. And I'll also activate our system here local in the office in our demonstration room here. And you'll also see probably a little screen coming up with a little bit of video just so you can see the activation. I'm going to go ahead and in this situation I'm going to activate a preset message. I just logged in, and I'm going to activate our bomb threat. I've got this preset, and I want this to be able to be announced out everywhere. So I've turned off all the tones for all our indoor devices and the beacons, those kind of things, and I've left the text-to-speech on. So John highlighted the text-to-speech, the quality. You can see there the bomb threat has been issued. It pops up on my my screen, and then you'll hear the text-to-speech and how clear the text-to-speech technology is over a speaker system.
A bomb threat has been reported on university grounds. Evacuate North Campus until further notice.
So you'll see it's very clear, concise, and
a bomb threat has been reported on university grounds. Evacuate North Campus until further notice.
The other thing is, luckily we've cleared the bomb threat. We're good to go.
Been reported on university grounds.
I'm going to go ahead and issue the all clear so that everybody knows.
A bomb threat has been reported on university grounds. Evacuate North Campus until further notice.
So the all clear is issued. That will then go out over and start to replace the message for all the other devices, and then the all clear will be sounded for campus. So
all clear.
With this,
the emergency condition is over. Return to normal activities.
I'm going to go ahead and cancel that in the all clear. And as you see, we were able to easily and effectively issue a message. We're able to control the sound quality, the voice, like John mentioned. You know, there computers and a synthesized text-to-speech voice.
The emergency condition is over. Return to normal activities.
Isn't going to be making a mistake. So you're ensured that a clear, concise message goes out over those high-powered speaker arrays. And with John and our team, we can help to lay out a system throughout your entire campus so that everybody walking between buildings, outdoors, in parking lots can get the message as well as those that are in your buildings that you're charged with protecting. So at that point, that concludes just the brief demo to show you here, and I'll turn it back over to Caroline to work with Q&A and also summarize some of the webinars coming up in the future.
Yep, at this time, if you have any questions, please go ahead and send them my way through either the questions or chat box. I have just a couple in right now. If you want, this one is for John. It says, you mentioned integrating our speakers into our emergency notification system. How hard is it to integrate them, or is it a pretty seamless process?
It's pretty seamless for most systems. We have a module that, if you have an existing public address system, we have a module that you can put literally next to it and induce audio, and we can also take faults back from the system if the system allows for faults. So basically, all we need from you is the model number of your existing system, and we'll come back to you with a method of interfacing. But you know, some campuses already have speaker arrays, and it's really just a matter of us providing that interface so that you have a unified message across your facility.
Thank you. The next one is, I think referring to the preset messages that we showed with Ryan's demo, is how easily can I create custom messages in that console?
Oh, that's a great question. The custom message, you can either do them custom on the fly. We've got an option there where you can select your locations within campus, what devices you want to notify, and including how they behave. Or you can go through and, with a point-and-click graphical user interface, much like the custom activation, create as many presets as you want. So, you know, you can plan for about maybe 10 or 15 different situations, but there's variants of that. You can modify them on the fly, those kind of things, but you can build as many presets ahead of time as you want. And you don't have to have a computer programming degree. You can go in and point and click, select the devices, select your groups, all within the user interface. So it's very simple.
Great, thank you, Ryan. At this time, we don't have any more questions. If you would like to send them to me directly at marketing@alertus.com, we'll respond to you as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for joining us today's webinar. We do have monthly webinars. If you go to our website at alertus.com/webinars, you'll see a list of upcoming events. Oh, we just got another question that just popped in last minute here. It says, can we get the speakers without the built-in amplifier, driver and horn only, for replacement of existing speakers and integration with users' head end?
Okay,
Is that for
so
you, John?
yeah, sure, sure. Again, the answer to that question is it depends. Excuse me. It depends. The speakers need to match the amplifier, so maybe offline we could contact the person asking the question, and we'll see if our audio drivers match the amplifier.
Yep, I'll forward you the information. Are there any other questions we can answer before we get offline? All right, like I said, if you think of anything, just follow up with us, and we will be sending the recording of this webinar out to you as soon as it's ready. Thank you again for joining. We hope to see you at our next webinar.